When a major political figure says their actions may have prevented a global crisis, the world pays attention. Recently, Donald Trump made a striking claim, suggesting that U.S. actions involving Iran helped stop a much larger conflict from unfolding. Supporters see it as a demonstration of strength and deterrence, while critics raise deeper questions about strategy, diplomacy, and the fragile balance of power in the Middle East. But this story isn't just about one statement or one political moment. It's part of a much larger picture. Decades of tension, nuclear negotiations, regional rivalries, and the ongoing challenge of maintaining stability in one of the world's most strategically important regions. For countries like Israel, for global powers watching closely, and for millions trying to understand what these developments mean, the stakes are significant. So the real question is, was this simply political rhetoric? Or does it reflect deeper geopolitical realities that the world needs to pay attention to? I'd be interested to hear your perspective. How do you see these developments affecting global stability? Share your thoughts in the comments. Because once you look beyond the headlines, the bigger story behind these tensions becomes far more complex than most people realize. And what comes next may shape the direction of international politics in the months ahead. When a major political figure claims that their decisions may have prevented a global catastrophe, it immediately draws worldwide attention. Recently, former President Donald Trump made such a statement, suggesting that U.S. actions toward Iran helped avert a much larger conflict that could have spiraled into a global crisis. The remark sparked debate among policymakers, analysts, and ordinary citizens alike. Supporters framed it as a demonstration of strength and foresight, while critics questioned whether such statements were grounded in reality or part of a political narrative. Either way, the comment highlights how sensitive and interconnected modern geopolitics can be, and why even a single statement from a world leader can ripple across international headlines. To understand the significance of these remarks, it's important to step back and look at the broader context. The relationship between the United States and Iran has been tense for decades. Diplomatic disputes, economic sanctions, and proxy conflicts have defined interactions between these two nations. At the center of these tensions lies a history of mistrust and strategic competition. From the aftermath of the Iranian Revolution in 1979 to ongoing disagreements over nuclear development, the U.S.-Iran dynamic has rarely been stable. Each escalation tends to reverberate throughout the Middle East and beyond, affecting not only regional security, but also global economic and political considerations. By understanding this long-running rivalry, viewers can better appreciate why actions or statements involving these countries carry significant weight and why analysts are quick to scrutinize both rhetoric and policy decisions. One of the most persistent concerns in U.S.-Iran relations has been nuclear capabilities. Iran's nuclear program has long been under international observation, with agreements, inspections, and negotiations aimed at preventing weaponization. Over the years, different administrations in Washington have taken contrasting approaches, some favoring strict sanctions, others advocating diplomacy or multilateral engagement. These measures are not just technical or political. They represent efforts to maintain regional stability and prevent the proliferation of nuclear weapons, which could dramatically alter the balance of power. When leaders make public claims about nuclear threats, it often serves to remind the world of the stakes involved and why regional security decisions cannot be made lightly. The Middle East itself is highly complex, with multiple countries, alliances, and historical grievances intersecting in ways that make any escalation particularly sensitive. Countries such as Israel and Iran exist within a web of strategic relationships, some cooperative, others adversarial. Any perceived shift in military or diplomatic postures can prompt rapid responses from neighboring nations and global powers alike. The region's strategic importance is amplified by energy resources, trade routes, and long-standing historical and cultural ties. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for viewers trying to make sense of why even a single strike or statement can have outsized implications on international stability. Global powers do not act in isolation when tensions rise. European nations, regional partners, and international organizations often respond diplomatically, economically, and sometimes militarily, depending on the circumstances. These responses are rarely straightforward. Governments must weigh the potential for escalation against the desire to maintain peace and safeguard interests abroad. Sanctions, public condemnations, and diplomatic negotiations are common tools, but so are intelligence sharing and multilateral security measures. Each decision contributes to a delicate balance that can either prevent or precipitate larger crises. For viewers, understanding these mechanisms helps illuminate why world leaders act the way they do, and why global stability is often maintained by a combination of strategy, negotiation, and sometimes calculated deterrence. Policy debates also center around strategy versus diplomacy. Some analysts argue that decisive military action serves as a deterrent, preventing adversaries from pursuing aggressive initiatives, while others insist that diplomacy and negotiation are the safer paths to sustainable stability. These debates are particularly relevant when dealing with nations like Iran, where regional influence, ideological objectives, and domestic politics all intersect. For policymakers, the challenge is determining which combination of pressure and engagement will produce the best long-term outcome without triggering unintended consequences. For viewers, this perspective offers a window into why leaders often face difficult choices and why what may appear as straightforward decisions are often laden with complex trade-offs. Of course, statements about preventing war or nuclear escalation must also be considered carefully. Political leaders often frame their narratives in ways that reinforce credibility, demonstrate decisive action, or appeal to domestic audiences. This is not to suggest that threats or security concerns are imaginary, but rather that public remarks often serve multiple purposes. They can reassure allies, signal deterrence to adversaries, and influence public perception simultaneously. Understanding this dual role helps viewers separate the immediate news value of a statement from the broader strategic or political context. The impact of these developments is not limited to high-level policymakers. Ordinary people are affected indirectly through economic consequences, energy markets, and national security. Heightened tensions can influence oil prices, disrupt trade, or shift the focus of international cooperation. Regional instability may also affect migration patterns, humanitarian efforts, and the security environment for global citizens. Providing this context helps audiences appreciate that geopolitical events are not abstract. They have real-world consequences that touch multiple facets of daily life. Even as tensions persist, nations often pursue a range of options simultaneously. Military posturing, strategic strikes, and defensive preparations may be accompanied by behind-the-scenes diplomacy, intelligence cooperation, and multilateral talks. This dual approach reflects the complex reality of modern international relations, where visible actions may be complemented by quiet negotiations aimed at preventing escalation. For viewers, it underscores the importance of looking beyond sensational headlines and considering both the overt and subtle ways countries interact on the global stage. Looking ahead, the trajectory of U.S.-Iran relations and the broader Middle East remains uncertain. Analysts are closely watching diplomatic channels, military deployments, and public statements from key leaders. Developments in nuclear negotiations, regional security agreements, and economic sanctions will continue to shape the landscape. While it's impossible to predict precisely how events will unfold, understanding the patterns, history, and motivations behind these interactions equips viewers to interpret breaking news responsibly. It also emphasizes the need for critical thinking when evaluating claims about potential global crises. Ultimately, the world's attention to statements from leaders like Donald Trump reflects both the high stakes of international relations and the influence of perception. Words can reassure or alarm, motivate cooperation or conflict, and frame the narrative that informs global audiences. For viewers, it's essential to consider the context, examine the evidence, and appreciate the complexity that underlies each statement. By doing so, individuals gain a more nuanced understanding of why geopolitical developments matter, and why following these stories critically can provide insights beyond immediate headlines. So as we continue to monitor developments involving Iran, the Middle East, and broader international responses, the key takeaway is that global events are rarely isolated. Each statement, policy decision, or strategic move is connected to a web of history, alliances, and potential consequences. Observing these dynamics with care allows viewers to make sense of unfolding events and understand the broader implications for international security and diplomacy. What do you think this means for the future of regional stability and global security? Share your perspective in the comments. Your insights are part of the conversation that helps everyone make sense of these complex issues. Because beyond the headlines, the real story is still developing, and the next chapter could reshape the balance of power, influence international relations, and impact lives far beyond the region itself. Stay with us as these developments continue to unfold, and we'll keep breaking down the context, analysis, and implications for you.